Happy Veterans/Armistice Day, folks. It's been a few years since I made a really crappy video, very crappily explaining the map changes that were made at the end of World War One, and I rewatched that video, and I'm still in excruciating pain. And so I thought, I'm smarter, I'm older, my voice doesn't sound like I went through a cheese grater, I could redo that. And so, here we are, redoing all the map changes at the end of World War One, because why not? And so the first nation we're going to talk about is the big boy, Deutschland. Germany was handled by two treaties at the end of the war, the most famous one being the Treaty of Versailles, signed between the rest of the Entente and Germany, and the special peace treaty between the United States and Germany because the Senate refused to ratify Versailles. Versailles, among many other things, instituted a League of Nations proposed by President Woodrow Wilson, son of a bitch, and tore up Germany's lands and restricted their army, navy, air force, all that good stuff. It also forced them to pay heavy war reparations and solely blamed them for the war, but we're focusing on the map changes, so I should shut up. Going from east to west, we're going to start with Poland, which was not only reinstated for the first time since 1815, but received the territories of Poznan, Pomerania, parts of Pomerania, and a little region centered around the city of Katowice. Also, the city of Danzig, now known as Gdansk, was released as a League of Nations mandate, although it was effectively just kind of a Polish subject. Also, a small piece of territory in Silesia was given to a newly created Czechoslovakian state, and the territory of Memel was originally given to France, but then Lithuania got it because Lithuania should have got it in the first place. This meant that the rest of East Prussia, which was still German, was now a massive German exclave, and this angered a lot of German people, especially some certain mustache man who fought with the Germans in the war. Anyways, moving further west, we have northern Schleswig, which was given to Denmark despite them not doing anything in the war, the territory of Ypres and Malmedy, which was given to Belgium, an independent Saar protectorate released, and the return of Alsace-Lorraine to France. Also, the entirety of the area around the Rhine River was demilitarized, and for a good long while, the Ruhr was occupied by the Entente for industry payments as Germany failed to repay their reparations. I'll get to colonies and whatnot in a little bit. Germany, despite not starting the war, was torn to pieces by this treaty, and many Germans felt angry and bitter over the terms. The newly declared Weimar Republic was unstable, and it eventually gave way to the rise of Hitler, which ended up causing World War II. Austria-Hungary had basically split apart by this point, as all the nationalism had split them in two, and the dual monarchy had proven to not work. And so we're going to count it as one entity for now, which means that there were 4 treaties signed with them to end the war. The United States, again, signed independent treaties with Austria and Hungary separately, but the Austrian part was handled mostly through the Treaty of Saint-Germain-en-Laye, and the Hungarian part through Trianon. For Austria, they lost the territory of Slovenia to the newly created Yugoslavian state, the territories of Trentino and Trieste to Italy, and the northern part, Bohemia, the Sudetenland, all that good stuff, to a new Czechoslovakian state. They were also forbidden to ever unify with Germany, which clearly worked out very well. Hungary, on the other hand, lost a lot of what they didn't have to begin with. They lost Slovakia to Czechoslovakia, Galicia to the new Polish state, Bukovina and Transylvania to Romania, Vojvodina and parts of Croatia to the newly created Yugoslavian state, and Bosnia, which was neither Austria nor Hungary but was part of the empire, was also similarly given to this new Yugoslavian powerhouse. Hungary had a brief stint at communism in 1920, which led to another war with her neighbors, and was eventually turned back into a monarchy with no monarch, but a regent, the former Admiral Miklos Horthy. Austria was Anschlussed by the Nazis in 1938, and Czechoslovakia was destroyed by the Nazis from 1938 to 1939, with little help from Hungary. Also, Austria-Hungary's concession in Tianjin, which they received for helping out in the Boxer Rebellion in China, was given back to China, or whichever China controlled it at the time, because at this time, China was in utter chaos. The Ottoman Empire had been relegated to the sick man of Europe for a while now, as nationalism tore it apart as well as Russian, British, and French meddling. The first planned treaty was the Treaty of Sèvres, which would see Greece annex not only all of what it controls today, but parts of Anatolia as well. Constantinople will be relegated to a foreign occupation, a Kurdish and Armenian state Croatian, as well as Italian concessions and massive French and British gains, which directly went against the deals the British made with the Arabs in Hejaz. However, this treaty never fell through, as the Ottoman Sultanate had collapsed by this point, giving way to the Republic of Turkey under Mustafa Kemal Ataturk. The resulting treaty was the Treaty of Lausanne, which gave Turkey most of its modern borders. It saw Iraq, Transjordan, Palestine, Egypt, and Kuwait all given to the British as mostly protectorates and mandates. From their tiny European part, which was mostly left unchecked, a little bit of territory was given over to Greece. Constantinople and the straits within it, or should I say Istanbul now, was turned into demilitarized zone and Turkish forces cannot enter. This would be undone by the Montreal Convention in 1936, which still holds up to this day. Syria, Lebanon, and until 1939, the province of Haiti was turned into a French mandate, and the area of Hejaz was originally released as an independent kingdom, but the Al Sauds attacked and conquered it in 1925, leading to the formation of the modern-day Saudi Arabia. This is also one of the only times where a central power received territory, as the crumbling Russian Empire led them to seize the area of Kars, which is now still currently Turkish. Similar to Austria-Hungary, the Ottoman Empire had been completely obliterated by the war, and Turkey would march on as a mostly neutral force throughout World War II. Bulgaria got off the lightest repercussions through the Treaty of Neuilly-sur-Seine. Bulgaria, while mostly having their army cut down to just 25%, but most of their territorial losses were pretty minor. They had temporarily taken territory from Serbia during the war and were obviously forced to give that back, same thing with Romania and Greece, but their pre-war borders were determined as well. There are only two major changes here. Bulgaria lost small pieces of territory to the new Yugoslavian state, and their coast on the Aegean, most of modern-day Thrace, to Greece. But other than that, Bulgaria managed to get off scot-free, and they stayed with their Tsar, Boris III, and having multiple revolutions in the meantime, until World War II, where they reluctantly joined the Axis and recovered a lot of their lost territory. However, then the communists rolled in, deposed the Tsar, the new Tsar, because the old Tsar had died, and this one was just a little kid, and they created a People's Republic of Bulgaria, which lasted till the 90s, obviously. So Bulgaria got the lightest suffering. They weren't dissolved like Austria or Turkey, and they weren't humiliated like the Germans, but they still didn't really get out of it okay. As for colonies, which mostly pertains to Germany, their port of Tsingtao in China, as well as many of their Pacific islands, were given to Japan. German New Guinea was given wholly to Australia, and in Africa, German Cameroon was split between British Nigeria and French Equatorial Africa. German Togoland was split between British Ghana and French West Africa. German East Africa was split between British East Africa and the new Belgian colony of Rwanda-Urundi, and the colony of Southwest Africa was given entirely to the Union of South Africa, a semi-independent country of the British at the time. So Germany lost all of their colonies and most of their things, and this fueled rage and resentment throughout the German Empire. And over the 20 years, they would slowly regain their lost territories. Meanwhile, the Kaiser just kind of sat with a thumb up his ass in the Netherlands, but whatever. Happy Veterans/Armistice Day, folks. And thank God no one ever has to watch that video again. Well, it's not like you could anyway. I unlisted it because it just sucked that bad. Drink your water and stop falling over.